This is TWiT.
So Microsoft apparently read email without a court order. What's the story, Ed?
So I did a post on this last week, and I have another post that I think I'll publish tonight. That's around 1,500 words on the subject. I've been looking at it pretty carefully. Here's the executive summary. The FBI filed a criminal complaint in federal court last week against a former Microsoft employee. They arrested him in Seattle at roughly the same time that they filed that complaint, and he's being held right now without bail. And they charged him with leaking not just pre-release Microsoft code, but of leaking the software development kit and binary code for Microsoft's Activation Server. And that's the product that generates and validates the product keys for Windows and Office. And it is literally the linchpin of a multi-billion-dollar business.
Yeah, those are the crown jewels. But the good news is he really liked Microsoft products.
He really liked Microsoft products because he uploaded the files to Microsoft SkyDrive and then used Windows Live Messenger, or MSN Messenger at the time, and Hotmail to coordinate with a guy in France. And I do not want to call him a journalist, and I'm reluctant to even call him a blogger, although that's what he was called in the FBI complaint.
A Windows enthusiast.
Yeah, he was, I think in the story that I'm publishing tonight, I think I called him a software pirate with good connections, a penchant for tweaking authority, and really bad operational security skills.
Uh-oh, we lost him again. We lost your audio again. Put that button that you hit. Ho, wait. Hey. Hey, did we lose yours too?
No, I'm here. I'm just trying to signal to him.
Hey, Ed. Hey, you. We're missing the story. Yeah.
There we go.
He's using Skype. That's the problem. He's also using a Microsoft product.
Yeah.
He used a Hotmail email address. Sorry about that. So we were talking about Kanuna, who he's like Ev Leaks. He's one of these guys who's famous for leaking code and leaking stuff like this.
This is all allegedly, right?
All allegedly.
Yeah, although I think there's enough evidence here that you can put allegedly in quotes.
Right.
I mean, this is, the man gets his day. This guy Kib Kahlo gets his day in court, and he gets to put up a defense, and he is indeed innocent until proven guilty. But there's a hell of a lot of evidence against him at this point.
Had he used Dropbox or Google Drive, Microsoft would have had to subpoena or get a court order to get this information.
And they would have been able to get it in a heartbeat.
Right.
But the thing
they
is,
need to, because in their terms of services, it says they reserve the right to review content.
well, it's not just the terms of service. To me, this was not, and this is the story that I'm publishing tonight. This was not a case of Microsoft trying to figure out what happened by going and reading somebody's mail.
Right.
The Microsoft account, there was a crime in progress.
Right.
And that was where it was happening.
Right.
Stolen code was being transferred on Microsoft's servers, the servers it owned and controlled. The vehicle that was being used to transport stolen property across state lines and international borders was Microsoft's Hotmail and Messenger services. Now, guess what? When Apple, back a couple of years ago, had some of their trade secrets taken away from them by Gizmodo, they got a court order, and the San Mateo County Sheriff's Department, knocked down a guy's door and took away
Gizmodo editor. Yeah,
Gizmodo editor
took all his
away a bunch of computers.
Yeah.
Now, had that guy had the phone sitting in a desk at Apple's headquarters, they could have just walked in, to open his desk. And that's really the situation that we have here. There was clear, incontrovertible evidence of stolen property. They knew who the guy was, and they went in and interrupted a crime in progress. Now, I think it's a big
Microsoft's Deputy General Counsel John Frank writes, courts do not issue orders authorizing someone to search themselves.
and he's absolutely right. The reason you have to go to court and get a court order is so that you can take it to Dropbox or Google or Yahoo or Apple or whoever and compel them to turn over the contents of a server that they control.
And nevertheless, I understand people's kind of concern about this, as does Microsoft.
Right.
And it's been pointed out that both Google and Apple have similar terms in their terms of service.
Everyone does. You have to. The reason that Lavabit, Ed Snowden's email provider, shut down last year was because there is no way to
not do it.
There's no, if you send email through a server that somebody else owns, they're going to have access to it. And so what you have to do is you have to have processes. And you have to have really good processes in place. The much bigger risks for people, frankly, are not that Microsoft is going to poke through your email or that the NSA is going to. The much bigger risk is that a rogue employee is going to start going through email randomly and using it to commit identity theft or to blackmail people or whatever.
So what Microsoft said, and this is in your blog post, and I think it's very interesting, going forward to ensure they comply with standards applicable to obtaining a court order, they're going to actually have a judge. As an additional step, as we go forward, we'll submit this evidence to an outside attorney who is a former federal judge, and we will conduct such a search only if this former judge similarly concludes there is evidence sufficient for a court order. They're going to act as if they need a court order, which I think is appropriate.
And the EFF called that warrants for Windows, which I thought was pretty clever. The thing is here, we're in uncharted territory in some ways here. I really do think these were extraordinary circumstances. Hotmail's been around 18 years. Gmail has been around, I think it's going to celebrate its 10th anniversary this year. Yahoo Mail has been around for 19 or even 20 years. There are almost no cases that have come up like this because the facts involved where someone is using a company's free services to steal potentially multi-million and probably billions of dollars worth of trade secrets from that company. That doesn't exist. And Microsoft did go through a process that's very similar to what they described they're going through. Everything was documented here. It had to be signed off by the chief counsel for the company. Nonetheless, I understand why people are upset by this. I also find it difficult to believe that somebody thinks that this is something that could happen to anyone else tomorrow. The set of facts are so extraordinary that
I think we should also underscore the fact that if you think email is private in any way, you're crazy. That the only safe way to secure way to communicate with people over the internet is to use point-to-point encryption. And if you're not using that, then you might as well treat it like a postcard.
I agree. I agree with that. I think that's an important thing for everyone to understand. But I think it's also important for people to have a reasonable expectation that people handling their email, their phone communications, their instant messaging, any kind of video chats, any of those things, they have a reasonable expectation that the company they've contracted with to do that is going to exercise more than reasonable, more than prudent care over the privacy of.
Leo, I think it rises to a different level. I think, and I've said this on Twig, I think we've got to get to the point where there's a principle of law that says that private communications are private unless, and that the same protection that's given to your first-class mail should be given to email and chats and Skype calls and phone calls and so on. And obviously, cops and spies don't like it. But with the death of the first-class letter, you have Jimmy Carter this week saying that he still uses mail because he can't trust the internet. Then there's no means of private communication that is given a legal guarantee of privacy.
Had Kip Kahlo taken the printouts and put them in an envelope and mailed it to this French blogger, it would be a federal offense to open it. You would have to get a court order.
Right.
Yeah, you would. You would. And I think
it would have been out, and it would have been done through an agency that was outside of Microsoft's control, where they could have done that. There are a bunch of facts we do not know about this case as well. But I think the biggest thing, the thing that people are really misunderstanding, is that this was Microsoft going in and targeting someone and reading their email to snoop on them. This was a crime in progress.
Yeah. No, I think we understand. I think had Microsoft not made such a big deal about Gmail Man and Scroogled, people might be a little bit less anxious to jump on them. But they made such a big deal about how Google reads your email that it just kind of, I think it touched a nerve.
It's the usual Microsoft bad taste in the mouth.
Oh, please.
But they had to do what they did, and they did what it did. It was not unreasonable, and they did it right.
I think, it's also extraordinarily relevant to point out that this happened in summer of 2012, 9 months before Ed Snowden. Right. Had this happened the month after Ed Snowden, a lot of concern for the optics of it would have been very different.
Yes.
We also don't. I'm going to disagree. I'm going to disagree. This privacy stuff about email and big tech companies has been around before Snowden.
Well, okay.
And as Russell Brandom wrote on The Verge, Microsoft just exposed email's ugliest secret. It's more broken than you think. Every email company reserves the right to do this and can.
Yeah, but I think it's important to say, and I'll say this: I am certain, I'll be sending. If anybody in Google PR or technical operations wants to contact me, you can do that on Twitter right there. I'd like to talk to you about the processes that you have in place to protect confidentiality of your customers' information. I know the one organization where I do know how it works is Microsoft's facility for its paid customers of Office 365, Exchange Online, and Dynamics CRM. And there's only a handful of people in the organization who have access to content. Nobody else even can get to it. They're not allowed to get there. Access is restricted by biometric control, and every single access of anything that has to do with customer content is logged with the employee's name, the reason for it, and the time. Those logs are saved for a number of years, I'm not sure how many, and they're randomly audited by internal and external people at regular intervals. I bring that up for Microsoft only because it's the one that I happen to know, but I am certain that Apple and Google and Yahoo, just to name three, have equally rigorous data protection procedures in place in their data centers, because you cannot do that in the year 2014. You cannot be anything less than rigorous with that kind of protection.